Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome, everybody, to Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning to our viewers in South Dakota, both in Sioux Falls and in western part of the state on Rapid City on KNBN. To all our friends online in Canada, apparently, we're very big in Canada, I found out over the last few days at Inforum.com. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day here on the 26th day of August. Happy birthday, my father-in-law, Randy. I know who's watching. My dog, Coop's birthday is today. It's a big day. I have an executive decision to make right off the hop. Eric's back in the big chair, by the way. Welcome back after your day off. We made fun of the Packer jerseys yesterday. I need you to make an executive decision. We have the Hot Mic Fantasy Draft as a week from today. We are one down because Alex Berger decided to get a new job. And he finished last in the Hot Mic Draft. So I'm officially extending an invite. Would you like to participate next Wednesday in the Hot Mic Draft? Would you make that work for us?
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Easy peasy.
I just hope I don't finish last because I don't want to write a letter.
Drew and I have to determine who's going to finish, because who finished ninth was me. So I'll be next up, but I've already done the apology letter. I didn't finish last. So I appreciate that. So Eric will be in, and we will have our draft, I believe, next week. We're negotiating now when to. Who calls me when I'm on the air? People know what I do for a living. We're off to a rip-roaring start here on a Wednesday. Lot to get to today. The energy is high. We have football in the upcoming days here. We've got UND playing tomorrow. You're going to hear from Eric Schmidt coming up on our show today. We got high school football for everybody in North Dakota playing on Friday. You're going to hear from Harvey McMahon, the head coach of the Horace Hawks, who have maybe the highest expectations on them in the eastern side of the state in 3A football, especially after what happened last year with Horace. We're going to talk with him about that coming up on the show. We are just a few days away from the Bison opener. As I looked this morning, we are in about the 320 range of tickets left. If we keep on that trajectory, the game's going to sell out by Saturday at 4:30. And I think it has to. It just does. After all the buzz and all the Bison fans that have come up to me over the last handful of years and saying, the games are boring and all that, then come on. This is the start of a new level of football with a pretty darn good team coming into the Dome on Saturday. It's trending in that direction. Let's hope we eventually get there, which sounds like we will. What do you got for us, big man, to start the show?
So with the ticket sales, how much of those tickets are being accounted for into that I think it's the northwest corner where the visiting team sits? How many are those accounted for? Because I'm guessing Jacksonville State might not sell their full allotment of tickets. Like, how does that affect the ticket sales? Yeah,
from what I can tell, at least yesterday, that was pretty gobbled up. So I'm not sure how many normally the visiting fan tickets get returned either today or tomorrow. So to answer your question, I guess we'll have a better gauge of that maybe by this time tomorrow of how many visiting fans will come. And we knew in the old days, nobody from Youngstown was coming. Nobody from Southern Illinois was coming. Nobody from Mo State was coming or Murray. You knew the Jacks were going to bring a ton of people. UND certainly was going to bring a ton of people. South Dakota would bring some fans, and that was it. This is a whole other – I have to imagine Wyoming's going to have some people come. I would love to see some red in the stands on Saturday evening. But to answer your question directly, I think we'll know by this time tomorrow how many tickets can get returned. All the student tickets sold out, so that's a great sign. That's something that hasn't been the case either over the last, I'd say, handful of years. So it's something we're going to hit more on Friday in anticipation the day before the game. But it's either way, we're going to have the biggest opening day crowd for a Bison football game before COVID. That's for darn sure. Just looking, I couldn't believe the attendance. I should have remembered this, like for the Albany game, and I was too crazy on that. That was our first TV game we did. The Albany game, 2022, for the opener there was, who was that? I can't even remember now. Maine? No, it wasn't good there. No, North Carolina? No, it was Drake. It wasn't great there. 23 was Maine. So here we go. We'll see what happens on Saturday. We'll hear from Tim Polisic a couple of snippets from his press conference yesterday. He was rip-roaring, ready to go. We'll get to that in just a minute. But we'll start with some late-night baseball with the Twins. And last night went beyond just a loss because they didn't win last night. Breaking news. But what happened during the game was crippling. Because now, here we go, with 30 games left in the season, that you have to now wonder what Byron Buxton's availability is going to be the rest of the way. Let's show you what happened in Sacramento last night. Remember, these are the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas A's, who are the worst team in baseball. They're 30 games under 500, and they tagged Taj Bradley early in this game. That's a 2-run home run from the bat of Carlos Cortez. They made it 2-0. Then something happened in the fifth, and it's never happened in Twins history before. It's called the Immaculate Inning, where Taj Bradley struck out all 3 athletic hitters on 9 pitches. All he needed was 3 pitches for each guy. Got the first out. There's strike 1 for the second batter. Here's strike 2. And we'll talk about this with Corey Provis on Friday because he was all over this. He and Trevor Plouffe on the broadcast last night. There's strike. Okay, so there's 2 outs on 6 pitches. Nasty inside. That was borderline. That was a strike. Caught the corner. That's strike 1. He ain't done. Nasty pitch there. He's just all peppering the strike zone there. There's strike 2. So he needs 1 more strike for the Immaculate Inning and got it. That's the first time in the history of the Twins franchise, going even back to Washington, they never had an Immaculate Inning. Good stuff there. But then the A's bats woke up. Bottom of the 6th, it's still 2-0. This is hammered off the bat of Tommy White. That goes for an RBI double. That'll score a run, and it's 3-0 Sacramento in the 6th inning as Butler came in to score. Here, more calamity for the Twins later in the inning. Still a 3-0 score. This is laced out to right. That drops in for a hit. White will come in to score, makes it a 4-0 Athletics lead. Twins finally were able to get some mojo going in the 7th inning. Kalen Culpepper has been great. He has been, just at the bat. He's hitting .333. Had 4 hits on Monday. Finally got the Twins going in the top of the 7th with this RBI double. That'll score Cody Clemens and make it a 4-1 score. They'd had another run, an RBI ground out from Victor Caratini to cut it to 4-2. Chaos, though, in the bottom of the 7th. This is a shot into the gap. Watch Byron Buxton. He can't bend over to make the play in the 7th inning. That's going to allow base runner to get all the way to third on a triple from Bolte. Now, the concern immediately over Buxton. Watch again here, folks. He cannot bend over to make the play. That hip that's been bugging him throughout the year, especially over the last, 2 months since the series at Yankee Stadium, he comes out of the game. Not good sign there. The A's would wrap it up. Boy, Elvis Alvarado is their closer. He's 6'5" and throws 100 miles an hour. That was the final out of the game. The A's win it 4-2 to take game 2 of this set. Taj Bradley's great performance, and it was great. 6 2/3. I know he gave up 4 runs. He struck out 11. A.J. Minter was the only other pitcher used last night for Minnesota. But the A's are 30 games under 500, okay? This is not a a good loss here as they drop the second game. Game 3 coming up tonight in Sacramento. The standings now in the wild card race, the division I'm saying is over. I'm officially saying it's over on August 26th. You're 5.5 back. Wild card, though, now it's getting dicey here. Cleveland has not stopped winning. They won again last night. They won 6 in a row. The Rangers are a game back. Then Baltimore 2.5. Now the Twins are maybe in the danger zone. They're 3 back, but look at how many teams you got to leapfrog here. You got to leapfrog Texas. You got to leapfrog Baltimore. And I know Corey Provis was talking about this last week. They've got the tiebreakers on these teams. And remember this, the Twins end the season with the Rangers at Target Field to wrap up the year. Toronto also 3 games back. So this is kind of getting the scary zone for where the Twins are at right now. But obviously the bigger news is on Byron Buxton. He's already had 2 stints on the injured list. And if you saw that and you watched that video last night, it does not look pretty that we're looking maybe at a 3rd stint coming here, that he's going to be out for maybe another extended period of time. 3 games out of the wild card, 5.5 back in the division. Derek Shelton said after the game he's been dealing with the hip issue, which we know. I think I caught him when he went to stop. Just felt with where he was at, I made the decision, okay, let's get him off the field. Shelton already also added that he wasn't playing today. Buxton was not going to play in the game tonight. His 11th game back in the lineup, and he has not been good since he's come back after the second stint. Frankly, he had his best game Monday night. We talked about that yesterday on the show. He had 3 hits, scored 4 runs. He did not have a hit and struck out 3 times last night in the game with the A's. Not what you want when you're trying to drive for a postseason spot. You need everybody healthy. And I know it's hard in baseball at this time. I mean, we are late in the game. We got a month to go in the regular season. So saying healthy is in quotation marks, right? You need him as healthy as can be. And that's a tough deal. We'll see if any news comes out. It certainly won't for us here on our show because it's 7:15 Pacific time where the Twins are at. But we'll see by the time they play Game 3 tonight if there's any update on Byron's status there. All right, before we get going, each Wednesday in this time slot, we're going to give you a little snippet of what Tim Polisic had to say yesterday. And he was raring to go for his season opening press conference to get ready for the matchup with Jacksonville State on Saturday. The initial depth chart came out, and he cautioned on that to not read a ton into it. And I will try and follow his lead, although there were a couple spots I was intrigued at. Corner was one. Marion Moore from Madison, Wisconsin. He's one of the starters. DJ Volts is the other, the transfer from Saginaw Valley State. We had our conversation with DJ on Hot Mic last week. If you missed that, go back and watch it. It's pretty good stuff, considering what league he played in for coming to NDSU. Linebacker Donovan Woolen now is in the middle. That was an intriguing choice there. And I think Grant Olson's going to join us tomorrow on the show, and I'm going to pepper Grant on linebacker because that's his spot of how many guys are going to play. Is there a set? If one guy's out, does that mean the other 2 are with him? Like, how is this going to mix and match at the linebacker spot? Gavin Sell was one of the other starters, along with Ray James, at least listed on the top spot on the depth chart. Offensive line went with how we thought it would be. Anene at right tackle, Josh Mangan at right guard, Gage Schmidt, great story of him at center, Griffin Empey at left guard, and Ryan Babbitts at left tackle. To me, though, the obvious storyline is QB. It always is. We're going to hear from Polisic here first, is my question about Nathan Hayes making his first career start on Saturday night.
Honestly, I just want him to be very situationally aware for an opener. Okay, that doesn't mean not be aggressive. But I want him to play football. I want him to give all of our playmakers an opportunity to go make plays on the ball. I want him to stay within himself, and I want him to be, gritty on third down like we've asked the last 2 years. We got to have great third down grit. That quarterback's got to will us to stay on the field. But somewhere in there, he's going to have to really trust his preparation, which he was up there today for 3 hours, I think starting at 6:45. and then know that he's got a lot of repetitions behind him, and we got a lot of guys that are going to be in the right spots at the right time that he can trust. And so my expectation is for him to play well. I mean, he's a talented guy. All the NFL scouts have been coming in and talking about him, and I just keep, you got to see him play, and he's got to make big plays in big moments. But if you're evaluating the prospect and his ability, that ability and physical tools that he has is as good as anybody we've had.
Touched on this a little bit, but Nathan's been in the program for 5 years now.
Yep.
There's a quarterback around college football now. Seems to be a pretty chaotic position with transfers and and so there's got to be some value, I would guess, in having a kid in the program for 5 years.
Yeah, I would never trade that off, I don't think. If you had a guy that was starting ability, to have a guy for 1 year versus, I know the talk out there, right? It'd be nice to have a guy start for 3 or 4 years. Okay, so what I mean by that is, yeah, he's had all the repetition. It's like, if you look at our O-line starts versus theirs, that's a pretty scary movie. Except for our guys, okay, Kenny is the one outlier of that, have been trained and developed here. And I just personally, that's the kind of program I want to be attached to. And so Nathan to wait his turn and to be here 5 years, I would rather have that than to be adding a portal quarterback every other year to try to fix something and scrambling around and recruiting, because that honestly keeps me up at night. That's a scary proposition, not only from the position, where are you going to get the money to do that? I mean, with the average that those guys cost. And so I'm so grateful Nathan trusted us to stay here and has been voted captain, expecting big things from him.
Out of the helmet now, you're an FBS program. I know a game's a game, but it's kind of a historical moment.
No, I think that's a great point. I don't want to lessen it. It's a new chapter of Bison Athletics. We're all aware of it. The fact that there's going to be 18,000 or more in there, and I think chomping at the bit, is going to make it really exciting. I haven't looked it up, but I think me and Dom were having a conversation. What have been the openers? What does the preseason look like? This is Jacksonville State. They had 27 wins in their first 3 years as an FBS program, and this is a big-time game, so I think it's going to be pretty exciting. This should feel like, to me, it should feel like more like a semifinal game. And from that standpoint, the energy and the juice coming out there. Our guys have been in fall camp. They're excited to go, and it's a really good opponent.
Semifinal games have had a significant, certain vibe inside the building. You just think back 2 years ago for the Jackrabbit game. I'd even go the Incarnate Word semifinal game, even though there was 12,000 people there. It was fun that night. The James Madison game that kicked off at 8:30 on a Friday night was something else in 2021. And to Tim's points, he's been there. The semifinal game with Richmond, even though it was a boat race, was electric that night. Sam Houston, boat race, still was hopping. And I can't even tell you, for those that experienced it firsthand like I did, both Georgia Southern games. The first one, just because of the newness of it in 2011, was something I'll never forget. There were people crying in the stands because the Bison had done something they had never done before. And then the following year, somehow it topped it because it was a Friday night, and it was just the best football game. That was the best of those games. Of all those semifinal games, nothing touches, to me, Georgia Southern in 2012. South Dakota State in 2024 is pretty darn close. But to Tim's point, that's the kind of energy that we're anticipating we're going to have on Saturday. Looking forward to it. It's good. Here we go. So waking up this morning, like, man, we got football in a couple days. Like, it is here. We got a packed show coming up for you here. Really excited about our Wednesday lineup. This, for the most part, is how we're going to rock and roll on Wednesdays going forward here, folks. Drew Trafton, as per usual, will get us going. His Grizz open up the season, highly ranked. We'll go through their schedule coming up here in just a few minutes. At 9:35, our guy Sam Herder will join us. I know we talked yesterday. I'm sure he's not going to want to talk about himself, but we will with Sam, and also get a look at the games to watch coming up here in officially it's week 1 for the FCS season. We'll do that with Sam coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock every week, the head football coach of the University of North Dakota is going to join us Wednesdays at 10. Eric Schmidt, as the Fighting Hawks have their opener coming up tomorrow night with the Sharks of Long Island. We'll chat about that, the Lance Rucker injury, and a bunch of other topics with Schmidt coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, it is opening week for the big schools in North Dakota. Harvey McMahon will join us at 10:35 as Horace opens up 2026 with Red River coming to town. We'll do that coming up to wrap up the show. That and a heck of a lot more. We got a lot to pack into today. We'll take our first break. We come back. Drew Trafton joins us to look ahead to Grizz football, the Big Sky, and a bunch of other stuff. That's coming up when we come back.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
All right, here we go.
Hey,
our guy Drew Trafton. What's
I just
up?
wanted to say right off the top, I'm sorry for calling you earlier.
It never failed when I was still anchoring the sports.
Yeah, I know. I had to get that
My
all the
mom
time,
would
too.
do it all the time.
I did that all the time.
Like, do you not know what I do?
Yeah.
It's 6:20. I
Yeah.
understand the time difference in New York it's 7:20, but like,
Yeah.
no, I'm on the air.
I swear, like,
Hey.
when I was on the morning show, I would get called at, like, between 5 and 7 a.m. all the time. And, like, since I've been off,
Yeah.
never been
Nothing?
called, like,
Yeah.
ever.
Yep.
Like, from 5 to 7 a.m., like,
Now,
ever.
It's my fault. I didn't. Normally, I put it on vibrator before we get going, but still, like, what are we doing?
I just
My
wanted
goodness.
to know how you were doing.
I
Just wanted to
appreciate
check
that.
in.
I thanks for that. We got a lot to unpack here. It's week one. It's week one.
Yeah.
It's not week 0 for FCS. It is week one. We got
tally
games
that up right away.
happening tomorrow. Just give me your excitement level just for a new football season
Yeah,
is here.
so I looked over that slate of games on Thursday, and boy, there are a ton of them.
There are a ton. I don't know if they're any good, but there are a ton of them.
I'm kind of interested. Like, I want to see the North Dakota play. Like
Yep.
that one really caught my attention. I'm like, oh yeah, I can watch the Fighting Hawks. That'd be great. So that one's the one that I'm going to watch Thursday. I'm pumped. Like I am ready to go. Like I have never been more excited for an 8 p.m. kickoff for my Montana Grizzlies against Southern Utah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Let's go. Bring on the Thunderbirds. Let's do this.
So we do this every year with your beloved Grizz. We do our season prediction, and then it's obviously the right before the start of the year. And here are the lineup of games. Obviously, everything in the FCS is playing 12 now. That's part of the deal. The Big Sky has gone a different route than the rest of the FCS. The Big Sky is playing 9 conference games,
yeah.
which means you got a league game right out of the chute. Now, I know it's Southern Utah because, remember, they are back in the Big Sky, which never say never on bedfellows getting back
Realignments.
together because Southern Utah burned some bridges when they left the Big Sky. But that's the opener coming up, and the Grizz do not leave Missoula for the first 3 weeks of the season.
Honestly, like, you look at their entire schedule, and it feels like they're playing almost the entire thing at home. Like it's. I don't know how they got this schedule worked out, but
they're
it's
3-0.
incredible.
Let's just call it like it is. They are not losing their first 3 games. Those are going to be butt kickings to start the
agree.
year.
They should be, right? And we're going to learn a
Yes.
lot about what that team has. Maybe like we'll see what their competition can show. But like
Quarterback and running back is a huge deal. That's really
Brooks
big.
Davis is
Yep.
at wide receiver.
He's really
but
good.
The big question marks are going to be the offensive line,
Yep.
and then
And
the
obviously new coach,
defensive
too.
backs.
Yep.
Yeah, and so hopefully we'll get a sense of like how stout those groups are.
So an FBS game is back on the Grizz
Yeah.
schedule this year at Oregon State. Oregon State, by the way, just announced, we talked about it yesterday, Braden Atkinson is going to be their starter. That's the old Mercer quarterback who won the
Isn't
Jerry
that a-
Rice this past year.
Isn't that a great story?
It's-
Like that to have that kind of fall into place for that game.
By the way, that's the same week the Bison are at Sac State. So for you fans out here, you can have 2 screens going. The Sac State game starts at 9:30. Your game starts at 10 on USA that night. Holy cow!
Oh.
That is, yeah.
I know.
Tell me about
Like,
it, man.
I just you forget. You just like get
Yep.
this amnesia that
Yep.
like that this happens every single year, and it's a fight. It is a fight to stay up past halftime.
That is a
sometimes.
winnable game.
I think
I'm
so,
going to say
too.
it right now. That is a very winnable
yes,
game for Montana.
I've been like that game to me is absolutely where the season starts,
Yep.
and that's where
I
my
agree with you.
expectations
Yep.
are going to be locked in. And I know that Oregon State team was awful last year.
Yep.
And I don't know how much better they're going to be this year.
They hired an Alabama assistant. That was the job that Vegan and Polasek were both
Yes.
in the mix for, and they went with another guy from Alabama that ended up getting the gig. Then at Davis will be tough.
Yeah, and I've seen
Their quarterback also just got the job.
Yes.
Where did Caden Pinnock go? Washington State, I think.
Yep. And that's my big question mark with that UC Davis team. I don't understand how people have them ranked so high when there's that much uncertainty around that quarterback position. I've seen some polls though where he's like, or they're ending up in like the 14 range, and I think that might be a little low, but I don't know. Like
that's the thing. In all of college football, you really have no idea anymore. After that, Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona, those are wins.
Yes.
You're not messing around there. Idaho should be a win because Idaho is down. After with Eck took everything out of there when he left for New Mexico. Everyone used to point at that Eastern Washington game used to be the game, and it's on Halloween this year. But Eastern Washington is just not what they are
There were some
anymore.
years there in the 2010s and before that where that was the bigger on-field rivalry than the Cats. By
you don't
a
have to
wide
go back
margin.
that far to actually. I would say 10 years when Cup was still playing at Eastern and they were humming. That was the game. Was the Grizz and Eastern, and then after that, Portland State, Idaho State. You're not messing around with that, and then it's the brawl game.
Yeah, that one's in Bozeman.
At minimum, it's 10-2. I see that.
That's kind of where I'm setting it because I expect them to drop a game somewhere along the line. Just because it's so hard to run the. The
FBS game is just the FBS game. So that one, but
it could be that game. It could be.
They're not losing at home,
right.
Drew. They're not losing any of those games in Missoula.
No, and they've historically, you look at their games in California, and
you've talked about
they
that
trip
before.
that up, right? So I'm thinking say they somehow beat Oregon State. Then you have like that emotional letdown game against Davis. That's where I think one of those two games I see them dropping one of those two, and then Montana State's going to be
the game in Bozeman is going to be super hard,
especially if the Cats are billed as what they have been billed
as. If they play anywhere close to what we expect them to be, this could be like what the Jacks were in
23 Jackrabbits,
or the Bison of 2019, where nobody could touch them.
It's just you're playing for second, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of football to be played between now and then, and who knows what the injury gods will have to say about all of that. But I think 10-2 is kind of where I'm coming out.
So Craig
to.
Haley yesterday, this used to be big time stuff for us, and unfortunately it's just not anymore, had his preseason bracketology yesterday. Did you see this?
I didn't see Craig's preseason.
So he's got Montana as a 4.
Okay.
He's got on the same side with the Cats again. Montana State is the 1. The Jacks at 2, Davis at 3, and again, I'm not there.
So he has 3 of the four of the top 4 seeds coming from the Big Sky.
And that again tells you with the Bison moving on that he thinks the shift of power is going to the Big Sky.
I could see maybe 3 of the top 5. I feel like another team, maybe like from the UAC, might get in there.
He's got Tarleton at 5, to your point. Villanova at 6, and we don't know Villanova's quarterback situation. Illinois State at 7, which I think they're completely overrated. I think Illinois State is dropping off the table.
I've seen some polls have them at 2.
Illinois State, again, was this close away from losing. I know they beat the Bison. I know they went on that crazy run, but they were this close to not even making out of Fargo. All right, they were this close actually to making it into the tournament. Southern Illinois, remember the last week of the season, beat them by 30 at home.
Yeah, no,
I'm not there on ISU, and they got a winnable game against Northern Illinois, or that's the FCS FBS game there.
That one will be really fun to watch. That Northern Illinois.
Haley has
State
UND
game.
at 9 as a 9 seed.
Yeah,
He's got USD at 12. I don't know about South Dakota either.
Yeah. Especially they've got a quarterback situation where it seems like
freshman QB they're going with USD.
So it's that old adage in football: if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
Correct, Amundo.
And I just have never been a fan of that, and it seems like that's what the Coyotes have this year.
Yeah,
because the rest of their team, like you look at it and you go, I could see it. I could see that coming together. It's and if that pans out, if Austin can play well for them, then maybe they'll be okay.
You got a Bison prediction for us before we let you go for the game Saturday?
I think they win 35-17.
Wow.
I think they're going to put up some points. I think they're going to run the ball effectively.
Now, you were at the Jacksonville State title game with me, which was a surreal couple days because the whole Carson Wentz thing was so bizarre.
I told that story last week of just like, the will he, won't he play, and then it was so evident.
You remember I got the video across the street in the parking lot of him like, he's playing.
He was slinging it.
Yes.
So the story I always tell from that game is I was standing against the wall in Toyota Stadium on the side of the field where the Bison were warming up.
Yep.
And I thought I was like well out of like, danger zone there, I mean, it's not that deep,
quick. This is
but
good.
it's there. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden this football like comes zipping in, and it had a zip sound to it. It had a zzz sound, and it slammed against the wall, probably like inches from my face. I looked and I was like I thought somebody had like thrown the ball from like maybe the back of the end zone, like into the wall. And I looked like came from Carson Wentz, and he was standing at like the 40 or something. And it was like, what? It was that. It was like, I guess he's going to play. And
then add on top of it, that's when the Jacksonville State players started talking smack before they even came out.
They're fans.
They were, right.
Like everywhere we went that week, their fans
thought they were going to roll.
Because they had hung with Auburn in that earlier that year in that game. It went to like 2 overtimes, and Auburn finally beat them. But they were like, well, if we hung with Auburn, there's no way that the Bison are going to beat us.
And remember, that was the year we got to go. The Bison lost to Montana, and they had lost to South Dakota that year. That was not a contest. 35-17. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jackson. Like, that's no disrespect to Jacksonville State.
Okay.
I'm feeling.
All right.
I'm feeling the Bison are going to have some extra pep.
There's definitely going to be some mojo in the building. Great to see you as always. Next week we got our draft, so there we go. We're locked and loaded for that.
How did you let Bunnell into the whole thing?
He's a great football mind. Just ask him, so he'll tell you on that. Thanks for coming by. All right. Drew Trafton joins us each and every Wednesday at 9:20. We'll break. We come back. Our guy Sam Herder will join us to get us ready for week 1 of the FCS season, the games to watch this weekend. That's coming up when we return after this. Fancy intro here for our guy at 9:35. Sam Herder joins us each and every Wednesday throughout the football season. We talked about what happened earlier this week with Sam on yesterday's show. I know he's not going to want to talk about himself, and I'm going to force him to. I've known Sam for the better part of 15 years since he was a student at NDSU, then went up and worked, I believe, in Devil's Lake for a little bit before starting covering FCS for the better part of almost a decade now. And I would tell you, you should feel really emboldened by the outpouring. Pete Thamel tweeted at you, man. That's a pretty cool deal. I know it's got to be sucky to hear it, but to hear the amount of support, and you can tell this better than I, that there were ADs, there were coaches reaching out from across the country, which I know has been a really sucky week, but to hear the amount of respect people have for your work, that's got to make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild last few days, and the outreach has certainly helped, I guess. And it's from coaches to commissioners have called and ADs, and the Pete Thamel tweet was crazy, and we even exchanged a couple of texts as well right after that. So that was pretty cool. So it kind of like I could see. Like when I was with Hero, I could see the monthly page view number, so I knew we had like a pretty strong reach. But when I've been doing that job for 8 years, it kind of just you kind of just get used to it to a certain extent. Like, oh yeah, like Hero Sports with FCS, like we got a good brand. But then when it comes to an end, I think the outreach kind of showed that we did build a really good brand there. But now, onward and kind of looking towards some other things when it comes to my FCS coverage.
Well, let's talk about that. Give us what you're going to be working on, because I know you're starting your own place now, your own shop.
Yeah, so I just kind of naturally, as part of the sports media landscape, you kind of you're not expecting to get laid off, but you're kind of preparing for it, in the back of your mind, like what would I do? How would I go about doing it? So pretty much. I mean, I announced it, and right in that announcement too, I said, hey, you can find my work here, and it's on Patreon. Probably the easiest way to find it is just Google Patreon and then Sam Herder Sports. It should pop up right away. I worked in the newspaper industry for a few years. I know how it goes, that people don't like paying for stuff that they're used to getting for free, but it's how I'm going to make a living doing this now. So daily podcast episodes, daily articles as well for just $8 a month. I feel like that's a good price to get a lot of daily content. So potentially my content could go elsewhere as well. We'll see what comes of that. But no matter if I do find somewhere else on a more full-time contractual basis, the the Patreon will keep on going. That'll be like more exclusive content that the people that really want to follow my work, that are willing to pay for it, it'll still live on Patreon for the long term.
Well, I think as well, and I don't want to spend too much on, I know you don't want to, but I will, just that the amount of stuff you're doing, no one else is covering it. So literally no one else is doing it. So that you've got a exclusivity that makes it worthwhile, that makes it for people to want to pay for it, because you got stuff that nobody else is going to get.
Yeah, I mean, it's the benefits of covering a more niche subdivision, and some people get mad at me in the FCS for calling the FCS a niche subdivision, but it is kind of in its own corner of the college football world, and I don't view that as a negative thing. I view that as a very positive thing, because that's the cool part about the FCS and the FCS playoffs is, Big Sky fans, they want to know what's going on in the Southland because it impacts how they're seeding, and SoCon fans are paying attention to the Valley in the CAA and vice versa because it impacts the FCS playoff picture. So it is, you do find, certainly there are a lot of fans that they just pay attention to their team, maybe their conference, but, each fan base has a certain group of fans that in the tailgating lots, they're talking about, oh, did you see that, that the starting quarterback and, the Valley, got hurt, or, what about this ranked matchup going on in the Big Sky? So there is like a good core of fans that pay attention to things nationally. And yeah, you're right. I think the national media of the FCS has grown, whether it be through websites, there's a lot of podcasts, YouTube, and all that, but it's not to the level, obviously, of the FBS.
So, off of that, I mean, you're talking daily stuff. How much does this change what you did on a daily basis, or this just expanding what you already have been doing?
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, my workload will probably increase now, just with you. Before it was, Frank, like you have a company paying you and writing you a check, and now I'm getting paid, through the people that support me. So if anything, it kind of, I don't know if rejuvenates is the right word, but it kind of, maybe makes the urgency to work even a little bit harder. And I was already putting out a lot of content as it is, but now I think more so it'll probably just be more podcast episodes. Before I did 1 or 2 a week. Now it's going to be 5 a week. And then plus the daily written articles as well. So, kind of the overall coverage and what I write about will be about the same. I might tinker with a video series. We'll see about that. That's not necessarily my forte, but I'm so old, quote unquote old school. When I listen to podcasts, or when I usually just listen to them, but a lot of people like watching people talk as well, like your show. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll dabble in that a little bit.
And I'd like to say, try not to pat myself on the back, that we've helped expand your reach as well. You doing this, and I want you to keep doing this as long as you feel comfortable keep doing this. And you got time for us, because I think people value what you have to say, and we're going to keep rocking and rolling on it as long as you're willing to do it. And we got games, man. We got games starting tomorrow. I wish I was talking about this with Drew Trafton before he came on. We have games. I don't know if we have any good ones tomorrow. Do we have any good ones tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it depends if you're a casual college football fan, none of these games are really going to move the needle for you. If you're an FCS sicko, there are a few ones that you're like, okay, like I can get into this one. Like Southern Illinois going to West Florida, I think it's probably the best game tomorrow. West Florida is the newest Division I member from D2. They had a lot of success at the D2 level. They're upgrading their stadium. They have some resources there. Their fans are really into it. It was kind of funny. I was talking to their play-by-play guy, and I asked him what the reaction was to them moving up to D2, and he's like, "Oh, these fans are moving up from D2." He's like, "Well, our fans, they wanted it for a while because I kept on saying, like, we need to step up in competition. These games are getting boring. We're leaving at halftime." And I'm like, I've heard that before. I've heard that in Fargo, and it's totally understandable on both sides. So I think it's going to be a great crowd there. Gardner Webb at Austin Peay is kind of a sneaky good one. Gardner Webb was not a playoff team last year, but they were kind of in the hunt. And then I think Austin Peay has a chance to be a really good team out of the UAC. Their quarterback, Chris Parson, is very strong. So those are ones are the two that probably pop off the page the most for tomorrow.
Now, Friday night, ESPN's picked up a game as well, a little 9 o'clock start with Idaho and Cal Poly. Is that intriguing at all, or just because it's on TV, people may watch?
Yeah, I think it'll be cool because, one, it is on national TV, but I mean, Cal Poly is a beautiful campus, and they just put up a new John Madden indoor facility.
Yeah.
I can't remember how much, but a ton of money. So that'll probably get some spotlight. So I think you might see some casual college football fans being like, this Cal Poly place is pretty cool. It's not like nationally, it might not mean a ton like on a national scale, but I do think it is fascinating. Maybe more so from the Idaho perspective, because the Vandals got so good so quick under Jason Eck, and then last year they took a pretty decent step back. Was last year just kind of a rebuilding year, or is that maybe a sign of things to come? And I think this is a pretty tricky road game for them, because I think Cal Poly is going to be, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they'll be better than in years past. And so if Idaho goes there and rolls, that's a good win. If they lose, then all of a sudden it might be another difficult year for the Vandals.
I'm looking at the Valley schedule, Sam, for this week. Is anybody get challenged in the Valley this week, or is this boat race city? I don't see anybody. You mentioned the SIU West Florida game, but other than that, I don't see anybody getting tested.
Yeah, I mean, that one, I don't think West Florida is quite ready to knock off DJ Williams and that offense.
Yeah.
But, they'll throw everything out there. And so that could be one where it is decently close. South Dakota is going to win, but I want to see how they win.
Okay.
They play CCSU. CCSU is a good NEC team. That's a bottom two conference, I would say, maybe in the FCS. But they've made back-to-back playoffs, and they've lost in the first round both times, but both of them were competitive games against Rhode Island, one-score losses. And so it's not, I don't think it's going to be like a 56-3 type of ball game. I think it might be more so like 35-14, something like that. But I'm just curious. Again, I think the Yotes are going to win, but how they win is what I'm going to be interested in.
The FCS kickoff still lives on. We covered a couple of the first ones when the Bison were playing in it. It's East Texas A&M in Mercer on Saturday evening. Is this the last gasp for this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think, it's no longer on a neutral site, which is good. And Mercer, like they have a nice home environment. Yeah. It's kind of like you were at ETSU, like it's not a big stadium, but overall, like, oh yeah, this is nice when they fill it out. And Mercer does that as well. The FCS kickoff is interesting because it's kind of still continuing, because there is something in the Southland contract that says a Southland team will be a part of at least like 2 or 3 more kickoff games. This is a road game for East Texas A&M.
Yes.
It's not the splashiest of games at all, but we'll see what Mercer looks like with the new head coach. And East Texas A&M is kind of interesting because they won a D2 national title sometime in the mid 2010s. They were Texas A&M Commerce at the time.
Yes.
And now they really haven't done anything. And so that kind of goes to show that sometimes you can be a D2 power coming up to the FCS, and sometimes that doesn't always translate.
Last thing, and we talked about this during the summer months, and now that it's black and white on the start of the season, that I don't know if the FCS took full advantage of the kind of matchups they could have, knowing the FBS isn't fully playing. Next year, do we see more quote-unquote week 0 games when the FBS isn't starting to maybe take advantage of an earlier start date, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think you would hope so. And that was when this first, officially got passed about the FCS being able to start the Thursday and Friday. I think that was the big thing of it. It could provide some really good spotlight games, and, scheduling that quickly can be tough. I get that. But yeah, we talked about how I think the FCS missed the boat on having some really splashy games. And overall, like the whole non-conference slate throughout this year isn't super strong in the FCS. I don't think that's going to continue. Like last year, there was some really good non-conference games. So I think this year is just kind of one of those years where there aren't too many great non-conference games, but I think moving forward, there's some really good home and homes upcoming. I think Montana State, like they scheduled Harvard, they scheduled West Georgia recently. So there's some good non-conference games coming up in the coming years, but this year is just not necessarily the case.
You're the man. You know what I think of you, and I really appreciate you doing this. And people are going to follow your stuff. Sam Herder on Patreon, Sam Herder Sports. Follow it, subscribe to it, gets good stuff, and he'll be with us each and every Wednesday at 9:30. Appreciate it, bud. Next week we talk about some games. How about that?
Yeah, can't wait.
All right,
Thank you as always.
There he is. Sam Herder joins us each and every Wednesday, and go check out his stuff. I mean, Craig Haley and Sam are the two guys. They're the two that cover national FCS football. And he got some great stories, and he will continue to do that. And we'll continue to have Sam on to give us the best stuff looking ahead to the new week. each and every Wednesday. All right, we'll break. We'll get caught up here. We got a bunch of emails to get to. Hopefully we'll get some in now and some in later. Eric Schmidt coming up. Harvey McMahon coming up. Big second hour as we roll on a Hump Day Wednesday. We're back after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Our thanks to Sam Herder for giving us a few minutes there. He'll be rock solid. I see the amount of support that came out over the last couple days after he announced it on Monday. There was no surprise on that, and he'll be good to go, no doubt on that. We got a few emails in here I want to get to. Going back to our how to watch Bison football. Dom, the CW channel is Midco 616, not 591, like you mentioned in your article. I appreciate that. I did change that. I don't know where I got 591 from. That is correct, though. If you watch us on Midco, which we're on 596, 616 is where the CW network is. Also, speaking of the CW, we had an emailer yesterday ask me about watching over the air in Minot. And you can get the CW as well over the air, as we talked about last week. So to count our 2 games and the 5 games that the CW has, you'll see 7 of the 12. The other 5 are counting the 3 that are on CBS Sports Network. You just, that's cable. You need either cable or satellite to watch those games, or YouTube. And then the same applies for the games with FS1 and ESPN. Because if you go the cable or satellite route, you get the other 5 I'm talking about. Or if you go the streaming route, you get the other 5 I'm talking about. Mountain West Plus only helps you, specifically for the Bison football games, for the 2 that we are doing, if you live outside of our coverage range. That's as bare bones as I can say it. I'll do it again over the next couple days, and I'm sure we'll do it again on Saturday. But it will be refrained throughout this entire season. I appreciate the emails coming in on that. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll head north. UND opens the new football season tomorrow against Long Island. Head coach Eric Schmidt joins us. First of his weekly appearances as the Fighting Hawks open up 2026. That's coming up when we come back.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Wednesday show rolls on. Second hour, Harvey McMahon coming up in about a half hour from Horace as the Hawks get ready to take flight to start 2026. Later this week, you'll see their game here on WDAY Extra. I have been trying to have a weekly UND football segment, frankly, over the last handful of years. And timing just didn't work. We would get, when Danny Freund, an initial run at UND, we'd have him on sporadically. Sean Kostic, who I know well, Moorhead guy, special teams coach up there. We get him on a few times. We'd have Bubba on occasionally. Schmidt's been great since he took over last year, but I wanted to set something up weekly. And UND practices in the morning, which is not conducive for our program, but powers that be worked it out that we're going to be able to record something with Eric before we hit the airwaves each and every Wednesday. And so we're going to do that 10 o'clock Wednesdays going forward. And this is perfect timing considering UND's got a lot of newsy stuff going on right now. Obviously, the Lance Rucker injury we talked about with Tom Miller on the show on Monday, to the cornerbacks that are going to play tomorrow that have the temporary restraining order in place from the previous court cases, that going for a 5th year of eligibility. So there's lots to chat about. Now, yeah, they play a football game tomorrow night. So we had a variety of topics here, going from Eric's days as coaching at Washington, where made it to the national championship game and faced one J.J. McCarthy. We'll get his thoughts on that. But we start, obviously, with the biggest news, considering the All-American defensive end and Lance Rucker, who will be out for at least a month, month and a half with a foot injury. We start our conversation with Coach Schmidt just asking about the injury and where they go from here.
It was a freak deal. I mean, it was in a drill, so it's not anything like in a team setting that normally happens. He was in a drill, just a misstep in a drill. You know, when that happens, I think, you kind of give him some time and think, hey, he's going to be able to, get back into practice here at some point, and just felt like, hey, something was wrong. Went and got an x-ray right after practice and found out that he had a broken bone in his foot. So he's already, our medical team here has done a great job. I've been really, really impressed really since I got here. Just the quality of care, how involved they are in trying to get guys back to being able to play. So it's really on Lance now and how much he heals. The surgery went really, really well, talking to all the different people that were in the room. And he's actually starting PT here. His first day will be today. So we're hoping, sometime, not the first week, but starting in maybe the second week of October now, he can kind of be up at that point, and they'll do some testing at that time to see, hey, where's the foot at? Can he do the things that he needs to be able to do in order to be successful? Obviously, we want to get him back, but we want the Lance Rucker back that's out there that can protect himself, that can play at the level that we know he can play at. So feel terrible. I mean, obviously for him, when you put as much work in is that he did when you come back, that you want you want good things for guys like him. When you start, talking about guys that are humble, that are loyal, that, I think care about the right things, relationships, development, that really care about the program here and want to see it do well. It's a crushing blow to see something like that happen to a person who's made all the right decisions here, since last season. So it is what it is. I always say, so what, now what? We got to move forward, and he's got to start attacking his rehab, and we got to get him back here in October.
Describe your depth there, Eric, of how confident you are to say, okay, we're going to need you for the next 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, well, I think Brody Thornton's a guy that we've really, really felt strongly about, even last year. So he played, with the 4-game rule that we had last year. We would have, if we know now what we knew then, he'd have played the entire season. We held him out we didn't feel like playing, 150 plays was worth, sacrificing an entire year of your career, So we played him early on, and then we sat him until the playoffs, and then we played him in those 2 games. So I just think his progression, he's close to 240. He's probably a little bit heavier than Lance. Lance is probably 245. Brody's probably 248. He doesn't dent it in the run game, like Lance does. Obviously, Lance a little older, more seasoned that way. But, I mean, bottom line is really smart football player, been really productive really since this time last year. Is a guy that we, had serious talks about, being able to say, hey, do we pull the red shirt on this guy, and can he help us, be able to win football games? So like him, Braden Moore's a guy who, he's had some unfortunate things here. He his very first game that he played at Iowa State before our staff even got here, he had a knee injury that took him all year to recover. Then last year he broke his leg against Montana, but he came back at the end of last year and was able to train here the entire year, and has been probably, his best version of himself since he's been here. And I think it's because he's been able to train. He had 7 months, with our performance team, and now he looks really, really good. So those 2 guys are 2 guys that'll get more reps now. And then the third guy is Eric Pay from Grand Forks Central. And honestly, Dom, Eric Pay is probably genetically in the top 2 or 3, run fast. I mean, back in high school, I put it on just the dunks that he had and stuff like that. Just super raw, athletic kid that, didn't play a lot of football. He didn't play that much football growing up. He played everything else. So that part of it has been a little bit of a learning curve, but I feel like now is time for him to have a great opportunity to be able to help our football team.
I know you're not a lawyer, you don't play one on TV either, but what has this been like to talk with compliance, talk with the university about your guys here that may be eligible, may not? How have you handled that through in camp? Because this is unheard of, what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, it's been learn as you go, I think, from all sides, whether it's administration, coaching, player side. I think the more you dig into it, the more I felt like, hey, man, I really believe in these guys. They're not guys who, obviously, there's a lot of different guys, I think, trying to take advantage of the rule right now. Like, hey, I was in the NFL and now I want to come back. I don't think anybody in college football, once you sign a pro contract, you're a pro. You're not an amateur anymore. These are guys that, in their situation, I don't know how much people have really dug into it, but hey, with the cases that happened a summer ago, the Pavia case was probably the most, publicized one. They gave everybody who was a 2021 junior college player an extra year of eligibility. And then they essentially did the same thing with the 5 for 5 rule that just came out for the 2023 class. But if you were a 2022 class and, you started at the junior college level, they're like, hey, you don't get the same exact, opportunities that the 21 or the 23 class did. To me, it's like, hey, well, if I'm in that class, that's categorically unfair. Like, why does it work that way? But the only answer that people will say is, well, it takes opportunities away from other athletes if you give those guys. Well, we've held these spots for these guys the entire time, hoping and thinking like, hey, common sense is going to show up here at some point, and you're going to be like, yeah, you're right. Like, these guys should be able to play. So we're not taking any opportunities away. We have a roster limit. We have these guys on there. For some reason they can't play, then we'll go 2 guys short on our roster. It is what it is. They're guys who have both played a ton of plays for us. We think it's worth the risk to be able to do that. And they're on temporary restraining orders right now, so they'll be able to play all the way up until their injunction cases. And now we're trying to get those cases tried here, just so we know one way or the other. I mean, obviously it's frustrating a little bit as a coach, but I just can't imagine if I'm a player, in those situations. That's who I feel for the most, is those guys are sitting here every day like, am I or aren't I? That's hard to do, whether you're, in your mid 40s or if you're, a 23-year-old guy trying to figure out like, hey, if this doesn't go through, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay in Grand Forks and live here? Am I going to go back home? Like, what's the next steps here? So I feel for those guys more than anything else.
Excitement level, Eric, seems like it's pretty good at UND from on the outside. Ticket sales like they're really good for the home games. Describe building off of last year, winning a postseason game, making it to the second round, and building on that in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, every year is different, right? But I think the momentum that you create, I'm a huge believer. I think just, in everything that I've been a part of now in this profession is you gain momentum throughout the year. I think what you do in January and February is just as important as what you're doing now and what's going to happen too as well in November and December. So you start with, all the winter conditioning and all that kind of stuff. And you want your guys to feel like they're getting developed, they're getting stronger, they're getting bigger, they're becoming more athletic. And then you go into spring ball and it's about gaining momentum there and feeling like, hey, we got some depth to our team. These are the new guys. These are some of the guys last year that are now carving out a bigger role, onto their team. And then with the summertime now, you get a lot of summer access time with the guys. You want those guys feeling really, really confident going into training camp. And then training camp to me is, it's the best time of the year, like, because it's really about what wins football games. You can take all these other things that you've talked about throughout the year, rev sharing, NIL, transfer portal, and you get for 4 weeks to really, it's no different than it was 50 years ago. It's this is football now, and this is what wins football games. But that momentum needs to carry over now into the season. And I think people, we by no means are we satisfied. By no means. There's a lot of goals and expectations that we have for the program, but there is momentum, whether that's in recruiting, whether that's in, the results on the field. I mean, when you walk on the field and see our guys genetically, how they look, how they play, like, there's some things there that I think, some boxes you need to check in order to put yourself in position to be in that conversation. And I think we're starting to check more of those boxes as we go along here.
Have another year with Jerry Kaminsky as your starter. What's the seamless transition there? Like, we're building off, you just said, off what he did in 25 and bigger and better in 2026.
Yeah, I think great question, Dom. I will say this. People have asked me, like, hey, what do you think the difference year one, year two? I just think our offense and just the overall quality and quantity of the person that is in that room. Like, I think our offensive line room is, a lot's been talked about, like Liam Beecher and Trace Thaden here, just as far as those guys are as athletic and as good offensive linemen, I think, as you can find, for sure at our level in the country. And I just think across the board, we lost Seth Anderson, who was really, really good. But, Caleb Olsen comes back. He started games early in the year, then got injured. So you essentially got another starter coming back. Isaac Caribou, took his place. So I just think offensively, Jerry has a lot of confidence in himself. Obviously, things that went on this summer, and he grew a lot and kept developing. And then I think just naturally from year one to year two, like the learning curve's less. You've been through it. You have some confidence in yourself and in the success that you had year one. And then I think, our tight end room, I feel really, really strong about. I mean, Coach Haug's done a great job there, just building depth and the quality of the depth in there. And then the one thing I think we had last year that we knew we needed to do a better job of is that receiver. We felt like we needed to get more skilled. And I really feel confident the guys we have in here. Caleb Goodlow, we think can be a really, really good player. Cam Weir has come in here. And then it's we talked a little bit about Eric Pay, but Dang, I think is finally, there's a learning curve there. I don't care who you are, what school you come from, whether it's, Minnetonka or, the big school, let alone come from small town North Dakota and grow up playing a ton of basketball and now have to switch to football. There's a learning curve. It is what it is, but he is confident, really since back in February, just, found his voice, leadership, and I'm excited. I probably get more questions on Dang than anybody in our roster. He had that type of following in North Dakota in high school, and I think everybody, he's an easy guy to cheer for, and we're excited to be able to, watch his development. And I think he's really ready now to go out there and be able to really help our football team.
What do you know about Long Island? It's a newer FCS team that's coming in here. It's a Thursday night game. I know your guys are going to be amped to play. What do you know about the opponent you have tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think the one thing that they possess is a team that's constantly improved here throughout Coach Cooper, their head coach's tenure. This is his 5th year there. So last year they won 5 out of their last 6. The only game they lost, it was I think they lost 10-7, and they had the ball at the 2-yard line with under a minute left to go and couldn't score. Then they got the field goal blocked. So really, they could have won their last 6. It's like a lot of FCS schools out there. They started out at Florida and then went on the road and beat Eastern Michigan, which was a big win. Obviously, any FCS to FBS win is good, but they were banged up after that. So there was a lull there for 3 games, and then they got hot. Like I said, defensively, I think is where they're the most impressive. They're the number 1 defense in their league last year. Offensively, I feel like they have some weapons at quarterback. They'll play a lot of 2 quarterbacks on the field, and do a lot of different things that way. You can obviously be creative when you have 2 quarterbacks out there, but guys who are athletic that can go, run a route, catch a pass, do those things, and then really, I think the thing that probably concerns you the most, it's the scramble drills, the off, whatever plays that the quarterback drops back and all of a sudden he's just back there scrambling and plays turn into, 7 and 8 and 9 second plays instead of 3 or 4 second plays. And those are hard to prepare for sometimes. So, they're a good football team. They're picked 1 or 2 in most of the, I think 1, 2, or 3 in most of their, preseason polls and things like that. But they have some confidence. They've won a lot of games here, especially late last season. They got on a really good run there. So it's exciting. You get somebody in that's out of the area, and how it works in FCS football. I think obviously the conference games are important, but you want to get as many bids into the playoffs. These non-conference games and how your league stacks up against the other leagues really means something.
All right, I got to leave you with this. I tap into your great football mind. I'm sure you've been asked about this considering where you live, but your last gig for coming back to UND, is J.J. McCarthy going to make it? You had to go up against him. What are you seeing, and can he do it at this level? You saw it firsthand in Michigan.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you. I just haven't followed the Vikes honestly as much here right now. Obviously, I think on the outside looking in, when you make a decision as early in camp as they made a decision, I think to go with Kyler Murray probably tells you a little bit, how they feel about it. But at any level of football, I don't care what it is, NFL, college football, high school football, you better have 2 really good quarterbacks on your roster, because the odds of you getting to those guys are really, really good. And, I just think, it's Sam Darnold, right? Like you can't ever give up on these guys. Some of these guys, they come in the league and you expect them to be able to lead a franchise, to resurrect a franchise. And in a year, it takes time, man. It takes development. As you go up the chain, man, it's just there's learning curves and skill development sometimes is an ugly process, and it takes time, and you don't have that time, when you get to that level and you're a professional. So I think, it's probably one of those things where he's got the, the ability to be able to do it. It's just, hasn't clicked for him yet. He probably needs some time and some confidence yet. But I think you get drafted at that point and win a national championship in college. He's obviously got some talent there. It's just a matter of can he put it together at that level.
This was great. I really looking forward to doing this each week. Good luck tomorrow night, and we'll talk next Wednesday, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Dom.
And there's our conversation with the head football coach. As you heard, we'll do this each and every Wednesday. I think some really interesting nuggets there on Deng Deng, young man out of Four Winds, Minnewacan, who was a standout basketball player that flashed last year. He had a touchdown catch, I want to say, against Tennessee Tech in the FCS playoffs. And you heard Eric said that no one asked him more about any other player on the roster than Deng Deng, who could be set for a big year. Eric Pay is the other one. And if you were to watch any First Down Friday out of Grand Forks Central or even any basketball, there's another guy, Eric Pay was a dominant athlete there. Rutgers a big deal, but again, you looked at their schedule when our interview was playing with Schmidt, that they're still set up. They're going to be favored in 6 of their 7 first games. 6 of their first 7 games, they will be double-digit favorites. They should be. They're 27-point favorites tomorrow night against Long Island. They're going to be that way against St. Thomas. They're going to be that way against Portland State. I don't care. It's on the road. The Nebraska game we'll talk about that when it gets closer, right? Then you have Indiana State. They'll be favored there, I know, in Terre Haute. Murray, they'll be overwhelming favorites in Grand Forks. And they'll be favorites in Cedar Falls against Northern Iowa. Come talk to me in the middle of October. That's when the schedule starts for me, when the Jackrabbits come to Grand Forks. And they have won the last 2 years. They've been up at the Alerus Center. That's when it gets interesting to me. But we'll see how it gets going tomorrow night when they take on Long Island. And he will join us each and every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Good stuff. All right. We'll break. We'll get caught up here with a few more emails to get to. A couple other topics I want to hit on as well. Harvey McMahon coming up as well in about 15 minutes. Back on Hot Mic right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, thanks to Eric Schmidt for giving us a few minutes there. It was good stuff. We tried to hit at least the major stories surrounding UND football as we get ready for the upcoming year. I want to get a few more emails in. Dom, thank you for your explanations of the upcoming buys and TV coverage. I know there are a lot of viewers that are confused. You've done a good job explaining it. While listening to Tuesday's show this morning, I think I heard you say the viewer in Minot will be able to watch the 2 WDAY games on TV. I might be mistaken, but I believe there is a CW over-the-air option in Minot. Yes, we mentioned that earlier, where you can get several other games. We can't confirm that here on today's show. Thanks for the excellent coverage. I typically consume your show after the fact on YouTube or podcast here in North Carolina. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone in North Carolina. I didn't know we were big down there, so that's fantastic. Appreciate you checking in. And I know we may have hammered it. I know I got a couple other emails on like, Dom, we get it. And I appreciate that, but there are some, I always go under the impression not everybody watches every show, not everybody watches every segment. So I try to intersperse this as best I can, because I just know we're going to get a deluge of emails, texts, calls come Saturday morning or closer to the game. Like, where's the game? I thought you guys had it. Like, no, that's not going to be the case. And I get it. Viewers you get set. You just do. You get set in your ways. Like, I know we talked about this with the Twins when they went to Twins TV. That, well, I just expected they're going to be on this specific channel. And now it's been a couple of years of them doing it. I think people have adjusted to that, but it's going to take a little bit. And we fully expect a bumpy road. That's why we're trying to, frankly, hit people over the head with it here on what to expect for this upcoming week and going forward from that, because it's going to be, I would imagine there'll be some questions on that. Another email comes in. Dom, did you see another bowl projection from Sports Illustrated? I did see this one. This is from a friend of the show, Brian Fisher, who covers college football for Sports Illustrated, has listed all the game projections for 2026, every bowl game, all 41 of them. So I'm scrolling through here. I'm looking for the other Mountain West teams that potentially could be in a bowl game. He's got Fresno State going to the Idaho Potato Bowl against Air Force. So there's one Mountain West team going to Boise. Scroll down a little bit further, and lo and behold, December 23rd, the Frisco Bowl, North Dakota State versus Army. Full stop. If that ends up being the case, sign me up right now. And some fans be like, Frisco again? And I'll be like, yeah. All you were upset about not going to Frisco anymore because of moving up, well, here you go. You still get the best of both worlds. You get to go, hit all the usual haunts. I get to go back to Hutchins Barbecue, the best barbecue spot ever. It's all about me here. Army? Are you kidding? Come on. To play 2 service academies in 1 year would be over the moon. The Air Force game, people are focusing on Vegas and Honolulu, and that's fine. I'm jacked to see the Air Force. That will be amazing. And if this somehow come to fruition, they would play Army in Frisco, there would be a bunch of people, I think, that would go to that game. Way more, I think, that would go to Boise. And you still get you're home by Christmas Eve, right? The other Mountain West projections, guys, New Mexico going to the New Mexico Bowl to play San Diego State. Now, that would be entertaining. UNLV going to the Hawaii Bowl to play James Madison. If that's the game in Hawaii on Christmas Eve, I might have to have it. Eric, is there an NFL game on Christmas Eve? Remind me, I thought there was. Well, I might have to have 2 televisions or 2 screens out on Christmas Eve. That might not be great for family bonding time, but UNLV JMU would be A-OK in Honolulu on Christmas Eve. Houston and Philly are playing on Christmas Eve? Yowza. Oh, my gosh. That's a good game. Is that on television or is that on Amazon? Sorry, it's on Amazon Prime that night. Let's see any other Mountain West teams here. Jacksonville State, by the way, he has going to the Birmingham Bowl to play Texas State. Remember, Texas State is a Pac-12 school now. I think that's everybody. I don't think he has Hawaii in a bowl game because if Hawaii is, they automatically go to the Hawaii Bowl if they're not in the CFP. So he doesn't have Hawaii going, winning 6 games. That is a take because everyone thinks Hawaii is going to be pretty good this upcoming fall. So we've got New Mexico, we've got UNLV, we've got Air Force, we've got North Dakota State. I don't see anybody else from the Mountain West in bowl games. He's got Hawaii in the Arizona Bowl. Sorry, I had to scroll down because that doesn't have a date yet. He's got Hawaii in the Arizona Bowl against Western Michigan. See, I don't know how this works. I thought Hawaii automatically has to go to the Hawaii Bowl. I don't think anybody knows how the bowl system works. But it has the Gophers going to the First Responder Bowl against Cal. Didn't the Gophers just lose to Cal last year, a couple years ago? Alabama, Penn State in the Citrus Bowl. I might have to get back to this article when we come back after our interview with Harvey. So, there, Bison fans, just maybe. Frisco against Army. Yeah, let's go. Let's break. We come back. We get ready for a huge week 1 of high school football for the big schools in North Dakota. Horace head coach Harvey McMahon joins us as the Hawks get set to open up 2026 with Red River. That's coming up when we come back.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a Wednesday. Don't forget our high school football coverage continues Friday night. We've got 2 games for you on WDAY2. Wahpeton and Jamestown open the year. We're live out there, 7 o'clock Friday night. And at 6:30 here on Extra Friday night, Grand Forks, Red River, and West Fargo Horace will open up the 2026 season. That'll be coming up. Riders and the Hawks to start off the new season. Speaking of the Hawks, they are ready to fly. Forgive the terrible pun there. Their head coach has been with us for 6 years since they were practicing with like 6 guys out there, and now they're a juggernaut and expected to be really good again in 3A football. Harvey McMahon joins us to preview week 1 to start the year. Are you ready to play a football game? You've been practicing for 3 weeks now.
I think after this year, we're pretty much 33% of the way done with the season already. So, yeah, we're ready to play a game.
It's great to see you. Tell me just on this journey now of going from starting from scratch to now where people around the state, I've been asking different coaches, they think you guys might be the team to beat. How crazy that is in a 6-year period.
It's it doesn't affect me a whole lot. I didn't think about it a whole lot, but Ryan Spitza from the forum was over at practice the other day. He made the comment was last year the last year of the originals, and so yeah. Once he said that, I'm like, man, it's a little bit of BCAD going on in my head. But yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, ultimately, I think I've said this on your show before. Horace is a little bit feels like a college town because everybody that's from Horace isn't really from Horace, and so we got all walks of life coming in there. But no, the reason that the program has success is ultimately just we got great families and great kids that have been moving in, and it's just been a pleasure coaching all of them.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off. How have you gone back and watched the legacy game at all from last year?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
That one, that one got away from us. We had a bunch of tight games that year, and ultimately, we felt we were a team that could win the state championship last year. We felt we were about one of 3 teams that could, and we won a lot of close games, and that one we didn't. Yeah. And that's how the ball rolls sometimes. And I don't really have a ton of burn from that one because I'm just happy about how that senior class went out. I think they put us in the position we're at now, and I'm still really proud of those guys.
So now it's a new year. You've got some dudes back we've had on the show who've made their college commitments I want to talk about in a second, but describe having real expectations, how different that is as opposed to just a couple years ago when we didn't know what to expect out of your team.
Yeah, and it's interesting to bring that up because I feel like I missed the boat on that because I want to say the rankings came out and they had us at 2.
Yeah.
And there's really zero chatter. I haven't heard it once between anybody in our locker room. We just don't really focus on that. So I don't know if that's the right answer, but we don't look at that at all. We feel like we just have a standard for ourselves, and that's all we focus on. If they would have rated us 1, 2, 3, or not rated at all, I don't really think that would have changed the course of what we're trying to do. So I know we have a couple of guys that, their names are out there and people know, but, we have a lot of guys coming in replacing a big senior class that we're super excited about, and I'm really excited to watch them on Friday because they're unproven.
How has the word of mouth spread, Harvey, to get guys out? That, hey, we've had success, it's fun. How have you seen that get to maybe guys that you didn't know about that have come out for football?
Yeah, and I think success, that obviously helps, but I think the biggest factor is I think the experience that my kids get coming through the program is top notch. I don't think you get that anywhere else. And that's, again, a credit to my coaching staff. It's a credit to the families that put into the things I ask them to do. And it's a credit to the kids. I genuinely believe that my kids have the most fun in a football season. And I think that just carries over to kids see that and they want to be a part of it.
What makes it so fun? What do you guys do maybe that's different than other schools?
I think it's just the camaraderie. The kids they hang out on the field, off the field. I think I put a huge premium on my coaches to get to know the kids, get to know them and what are their interests like and check in with them. And it just feels like a family. I've been a part of teams where it can feel like a chore coming to practice and, coming to practice is easy for us because we enjoy spending time with each other.
So to have the kind of high talent you have, we had Brett Livingston on, we had Aiden Green on, both are going to play Division I football. How much is that lightning rod at the top? Hey, we've got some home run hitters, but as you mentioned, we've got some other guys that can play some ball as well.
And it's the first time we've ever had that, and they kind of got to be the trailblazers for that. The recruiting, and their teammates got to watch that and in a way be a part of that. Whether it was Michigan State coming in, and I got a text Matthew Dick, hey, can you come throw balls in front of a Michigan State coach? And just like those little things, and that's kind of the fun that we get to have together. But what those guys know, people are going to know their names and whether you like it or not, when you're in that spotlight, they're watching every little thing you do on the field, off the field. And so that's part of the responsibility with having that. And for the young guys that are stepping up, they got to understand, we got some sophomores and juniors that are going to play for us. And we're playing for our season this year, but this is the last season for these seniors and fulfilling, what we believe our standard is.
Harvey, give us a little bit more on Brett. When we had him on, I know we talked a lot about basketball. I think people thought basketball was going to be the road he was going to go down. When did you notice that, hey, he can be a difference maker in football for us?
I've known that for a while, and I was kind of beating the drum with him on that because he's been a basketball kid since I've known him in sixth grade, and he liked football, don't get me wrong, but he was a basketball kid. And, I just told him, it was right around his junior year, like, here's a scoop, buddy, is I can see a path for him where he can maybe get his college paid for. And I'm not, whatever your passion is, right? If you want to play a lower level baseball or basketball, and that's your passion, go do it. Yeah. I'm your first fan in that. But, realistically looking at what his goals were, it's like, hey, you have a shot just from your skill set. I think you could do like a Division I level football player. And here's how I would apply yourself. The deal is with him is, you're a 6'5" kid with your back to the basket. And if you go down to the cities, you can find 10 of those at any school. Yeah. And so that's just part of the scoop on that is, just the, what the Lord's given him is it applies much more to it like a tight end set.
Aiden is a flashy player. We've seen it the last couple of years. What it can be in store for him in 2026 without giving away the play calls you have for him. But what do we see from him this fall?
Yeah, he's a gamer, and he makes my job challenging because I'm going to have to find a ton of different ways to put the ball in his hands. I mean, if outside of probably offensive line, he's probably going to have to play it this year. Yeah, he's just that kind of kid. He's a gamer. I mean, he's going to have to catch it, run it, pass it, whatever he's got to do. I don't know how I'm going to do that with the passing, I guess, at quarterback, but it is what it is. He's going to affect the game in special teams, on defense, on offense. He's a gamer.
To have a returning starter at quarterback, how much comfort level does that give you for 2026?
A lot. Matthew is probably one of the smartest football players I've ever coached. I have a ton of admiration for that kid, and I'm hoping he's a kid that can even play on Saturdays. I think he's a real special player for us. He might not blow your mind on the roster, like as far as numbers, but the way he sees the game, feels the game, commands his teammates, he's a special kid.
I got to ask here, I know you're focused on Red River, and I'll get to them in a second, but people look at your schedule. You're playing Kindred next week, which is a huge game. You've got the two West Fargo rivals on the road, and you have Shanley and Davies at the end. How do you, knowing full well that everybody's going to be, that might be their Super Bowl that particular week when you play them, how do you handle that with the guys?
And, we address that as, I think a lot of people want to knock off the Hawks. Yeah. And, you know what? That's part of the territory. If you guys, you want to be a blue chip, this is kind of the territory that comes with it. And all that means is we just have to make sure our preparation is right. Because the fun part of that means every single week for my kids, it's going to be a really memorable experience. And so you got to be grateful for that. Is you kind of earned that, right? Is every week now is going to have that Super Bowl type feel. Preparation has to match that, and ultimately that's a rewarding thing. That means you've earned that. So we got to come prepared because you look at our schedule, every single team on that schedule could beat us. And that's the difference between 0-9 and 9-0.
That Kindred game last year, Harvey, where's that rank for you personally in terms of how good a game that was?
Oh, that was a great game. I mean, that's got to be in my top 5. Yeah. I mean, just the atmosphere and everything on that. And, I was talking to Brad, their AD, and, even after this year, because they're going to redo the schedules, I hope, because we'll have non-conference games, that's just such a healthy rivalry that's brewing there. And I really encourage the Horace and Kindred administration to keep this thing going long term.
What do you think that environment's going to be like? You're going to their place, though, next week.
Oh, it's going to be – I already know it's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be absolutely jam-packed. Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to fit everyone in there. But, you got – I mean – that's going to be a special game. You got a lot of big names all over the board there.
Let's talk. I know you're going to be mad at me here, one game at a time. Red River, what do you expect? What are you going to see on Friday night out of the Riders?
They're a tough team. Vern coaches them well. I mean, we've gotten to know them the last 3-4 years, and they got dudes up there. And, you said it exactly right, is this team, because of that schedule you were referring to being so tough, like we are, by default, we have to go 1-0 every week. We can't look at Kindred or Legacy trying to get your get back there or the EDC. We got to focus really in on Red River because that's a talented squad, and Vern coaches them well. And, we know they got a couple of good guys out at receiver and a good quarterback, and they're always tough up front on the line. So, again, that's a team that can knock us off if our preparation isn't top tier. How much
for the non-conference games here to start, do you treat it as that? Like, okay, let's round ourselves into form by the time we get to the EDC, then we got to be humming then.
And I know it's going to, like I said, it's going to change next year because we only have 2. But
right.
One of the nice things about non-conference is, again, like last year, we lost to Kindred, and that didn't affect us. If anything, that was like a huge turning point for us, and I don't think we have the success without that. And so these first 4 games, there is a little bit of like, you don't have to be perfect. You can kind of figure yourself out a little bit, which is really nice as a coach.
It's great to catch up, bud. I'm really looking forward to the game on Friday. Certainly next week's game with Kindred. I think you're going to have everybody in the state that's either going to be there or watching the game coming up next week. Thanks so much for doing this. Be well, and we'll talk again during the season, okay?
Thank you so much for having me.
There he is, Harvey McMahon, head coach of the Horace Hawks, who open up the season Friday night, 6:30. Note the start time, 6:30 for that game right here on WDAY Extra, part of a huge night of high school football as 2A and 3A start their seasons. Next week, Minnesota hops into the pool, and then we got everybody playing around the area. Just going to be it's one of my favorite Fridays of the year is when everybody gets going. This is unique this year, though, because I think almost everybody in Fargo is on the road. Because South, North, Davies, Shanley nobody's playing at home this week. So Horace gets the opportunity to host, and we're going to be out there for live coverage starting at 6:30 on Friday. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things, get you ready for a busy Sports Wednesday. Already halfway through the week. Hot Mike wraps up on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday morning. Tomorrow, how about this? We'll have North Dakota State defensive coordinator Grant Olson, North Dakota State offensive coordinator Dan Larson join us tomorrow in the second hour of the show. Also part of our new scheduled lineup for the fall. They will be with us each and every Thursday, basically in the second hour from 10 to about 10:40, 10:45 tomorrow. So that is pretty darn cool. So look forward to that to get both the offensive and defensive perspectives from North Dakota State's football team in anticipation of the opener with Jacksonville State. That's tomorrow here on the show. All right, we got a bunch of emails coming in after we're talking bowl projections. Dom, Frisco again doesn't excite me much, but a matchup with Jeff Monken absolutely does. He's the head coach of Army, and tying back to how we started the show, Jeff Monken was the head coach at Georgia Southern in those games in 2011 and 2012 when they came to Fargo. I'm with you there. Dom, the Air Force Academy is the one game I have to attend in Colorado Springs. As a retired Chief Master Sergeant, that game has a special place for me. Any Service Academy game is a must. I'm planning for a week-long trip to the Air Force Academy game, a stop in Medora and Teddy's Library, the Black Hills, and a few days touring the Air Force Academy. There you go. That's a full week, man. Let's roll. I gotta imagine you're probably not the only one on that. Dom, you should be glad you had YouTube TV now. You can watch 4 channels at one time. Your wife may not be as excited. I'm guaranteed that's probably accurate. Although Christmas Eve has been reserved in our house over the last handful of years. I have a Christmas Story on because I have to. The Jackman actually is I think we've watched like a half of Home Alone. I think he would enjoy that. I'm trying to think what other... Elf is certainly one. He enjoyed that last year. I think for the first time he watched that all the way through, so I think that's a must. So maybe in the bottom corner I can have UNLV JMU. I don't see that happening, but that's what we do projections in August for, so we can come back and laugh at that when it's all said and done. Let me see. I have time for one more. Yeah, this is a good one here. Dom, our family has lived in Fargo since 2012. We're always torn as we were big UND fans, so we didn't feel the need we could really cheer for NDSU football much. However, now they're at the top level, we can cheer for both with no guilt. You and Mike have been asking if this jump will lead to a newer fan base. Well, our family is only a few people. I can't imagine we are the only ones. My son and I are going to our first Bison game on Saturday. Do you have any advice for first-time game goers, things to check out? Oh, gosh, tailgate alone you have to check out, and it will be hopping Saturday. Tailgate's going to open, 10 a.m., since it's a little bit later with the game at 4:30. I would get there as early as schedule allows for, walk around that. I always do a tour around the concourse, just that's a superstition I have, so to speak. I don't know if anything first. I don't ever eat anything in the concourse, so I can't tell you if there's anything must-have there. You got to be there, I'd say, a half hour before. Take in all the cool videos they have. The intro video, I'm sure, will be juiced up and be different. And then to see the team come, you got to be in your seat, I'd say, by 2:10 to really, or 2:10 at a 2:30 game. So 4:10 to fully get ready for what's going to happen. But should be good stuff. I would love to hear feedback from when you go to the game. Enjoy it. It's going to be historic. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. All right, what to watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. We got Twins and A's coming up. Earlier start tonight, 8 o'clock on Twins TV. Likely no Byron Buxton playing tonight. Little League World Series rolls on ESPN at noon. We're down to the final 4 for each in the international and the American side. Dodgers and Braves coming up. Another good one tonight, MLB Network at 6. Our thanks to Drew Trafton, to Sam Herder, to Eric Schmidt, and to Harvey McMahon. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. First edition of the Bison video blog out later today as well at Inforum.com. Thanks so much for making us a part of your day, everybody. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.